الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So I'll try not to take too much time. So what I want to talk about tonight, and mix it in with a couple of other things I want to talk about for the rest of the month, is al-adab. Etiquettes, morals, and manners. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because our beloved Prophet ﷺ, when he came, he didn't just come with al-ibadat. He didn't just come with the acts of worship, the rituals. And he didn't just come with al-i'tiqad, the beliefs or the theology of Islam. But one of the things that he came with was al-adab, wal-akhlaq, etiquettes and character, morals, manners. To the point, this was such an emphasis. This was such an emphasis of his religion from the very beginning that Abu Dharr al-Ghifari rahimahullah ta'ala wa radiyallahu anhu, he was one of the first people to accept Islam, one of the earliest people to accept Islam to the earth. And when he, in those early days of Islam, when he heard about this man in Mecca who was claiming to be a prophet and calling to a new religion, he told his brother, he said, he said, go, travel to that Mecca and hear what he has to say and report back to me. So he went and he came back and he said, so what does he say? What does he call it? What does he teach? What does he believe? He said, رَأَيْتُهُ يَأْمُرُ بِمَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. He said, when I met with him and I listened to him and I heard him talk, he was inviting the people, he was enjoining upon the people the exalted standard of character. So this was a big part of the Prophet's mission from the very beginning, and ethic, character, manners, behavior, morals, how we conduct ourselves, etc. And the reason why I want to emphasize this is because when we don't talk about it, and we don't talk about it enough, when we stress and emphasize on the ibadat too much, the impression that people get in their minds is that our religion doesn't define what manners are, what morals are, what good conduct is. And it doesn't assign any importance to that. And you have people with this mentality. They think, as long as we pray, as long as we fast, it doesn't matter how we behave. They actually have this mentality. They may actually say it to you, or they say it to you بِلِسَانِهِمْ الْحَالِ. They don't say it to you in words, but they say it to you in how they behave, how they conduct themselves. And so more specifically tonight, what I want to talk about briefly was adab al-masajid, the etiquettes and the manners and the morals we're supposed to observe in the masjid. And I stress and emphasize this, why? Because many people who come to the masjid in Ramadan, they don't really come to the masjid the rest of the year. This is not a critique, it's just reality. There are people, if they're honest and they turn inward and they ask themselves, they say, yeah, I'm from one of those people. I'm one of those people who, Ramadan is when I come. That's the season when I come to the masjid. I'm here every night. But the rest of the year, infrequently I come. Maybe I don't come at all. And so when you don't do something regularly, the etiquettes and the manners and the morals related to that, you may not know it all, or you have a tendency to forget. So we want to remind tonight about some of those etiquettes, and we're going to mention one of them specifically. And that is the etiquette of keeping the masjid clean. Now, before I mention this specific etiquette, I will remind all of us that the masajid are the houses of Allah on the earth. And they're the most beloved spaces on earth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one thing that He wants us to do is He wants us to follow His lead. So if something is loved by Him, He wants us to love that thing. If something is honored by Him, He wants us to honor that thing. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the masajid and honors the masajid, He wants us to love and honor the masjid. He wants, when we step in the masjid, we feel like we're stepping in a holy place. We're standing on holy ground. And it has to be treated in a certain type of way. He wants us to feel like that. And so you have to ask yourself, when I step into this masjid, do I feel that way? Do I feel the same way that I feel the same level of reverence, the same level of awe, the same level of carefulness that I feel when I go into a doctor's office. How many of us go into a doctor's office talking loud? How many of us go into a doctor's office and let our phone just go off and ring and ring and ring and we don't respond to it? How many of us go into a library and talk loud? We don't do that. We feel like, oh, these are places where you have to be quiet. These are places where you have to respect. And you have to respect the rules. We should feel the same way. No, we should feel even a greater level of respect and awe and reverence when we step into the masjid. But so, coming back, so one of the ways that we revere the masjid and respect the masjid is by keeping it clean. And the Prophet ﷺ, there was a man who actually came to the masjid one time in the Prophet's presence and did his business. You guys know what I mean by that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he called him over, and that goes to show you that some people just did not know. They didn't have, naturally, that level of respect, so they had to be taught. So it's nothing, there's no shame in not realizing how we should respect the masjid. So the Prophet taught him, he said, إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْمَسَاجِدِ لَا تَسْلُحْ لِشَيْءٍ مِنْ هَذَا الْبَوْلِ وَالْقَدَرِ. He said, you have to understand that these masajid, it's not appropriate that there should be any urine or filth in them. It's not appropriate to teach him that. And one time the Prophet ﷺ, he entered the mosque and he found or he saw nukhama. Nukhama is spittle. He saw nukhama fi qiblat al-masjid, which means somebody spit in the direction that the Muslims pray. And when the Prophet ﷺ saw that, he got down. The Prophet got down on his hands and knees. And he wiped it out himself with his blessed hands, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he turned to the Muslims and he was angry. He was apparently upset. فَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ بُصَاقِ الْمَسْجِدِ. He prohibited them from doing this in the masjid. Come on, this is the house of Allah. How could you? And he said, the hadith Bukhari, he said, al-busaq fil masjid khati'ah. He said, spitting in the mosque is a sin. وَكَفَّارَتُهُ إِزَالَتُهَا. إِزَالَتُهُ. He said, and the way that you expiate that sin is by removing it. Now, this is a specific type of dirt in the masjid, or uncleanliness in the masjid. But that doesn't mean that's the only type of uncleanliness that the Prophet is talking about. Basically, what the Prophet is saying is that whenever you see something dirty in the masjid, unclean in the masjid, you're supposed to what? You're supposed to pick it up. And the Prophet is showing you by his example, when he saw it, he didn't tell somebody else to get it, he won. He got down on his knees and he cleaned it up himself, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the Prophet he commanded the masajid be built. Amra aydan, he also commanded, and tuqayyam wa tunabbah. He also commanded that when these masajid are built, that they remain deodorized, perfumed, and cleaned. They should be spick and span all the time. Last thing I'm going to say is, whose job is that? Whose job is that? It's a fard kifaya. It is the job of every one of us. Every one of us has a part. If we see something, we shouldn't say, somebody will get that. We should get it. You see something on this carpet that we pray on, even if it's just a speck of lint, you pick that up and you put it in your pocket. Protects it and you take the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And that's throughout what? Throughout this building. It's all about responsibility. Now, if it's a reward for cleaning, it has to be muqabil. The other side of that coin has to be that if we make it dirty, we're earning what? A sin. And that's what the Prophet meant when he said, وَصَافِ الْمَسْجِدْ خَطِيئًا. Making the masjid dirty is a sin. Let's not be sinners, especially not in the month of Ramadan. Let's help do our part and keep the masjid clean. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Yes, sir.